Hello everyone. I want to do a recap on my female cardinal winter display. I actually thought I was videoing a couple of drawing sessions the other day, only to realize that I must have hit the photo button instead of the video button. But anyway, I have posted 2 videos on this female cardinal, and this will be my third, and so basically I'm going to kind of recap what I have done here for you. So what I did initially after doing the limbs, I told you to be sure and go in kind of semicircle lines to portray the roundness of the branch. And I also used a luminous light cobalt blue on the lichen, the different parts of the lichen here. I just kind of filled in where that lichen was, and I actually need to go back over it and strengthen the blue on that, because I basically just kind of filled in where I knew it was. I wanted to kind of get everything in proportion. So I did that. I also took a lighter gray. This is a cold gray 3, and I did the lighter, the upper parts of the limb where it's lighter, because there's going to be, more light coming on the top, and filled in with that. And also there again too, you can see over here where I've gone in semicircles, once again, to make it look like that limb is round. Okay, so that's pretty much the limb. What I did next was I took my orange, reddish orange, it is a Pablo Caran de Arch, and I went ahead and made each of the lines of the stems. I did it in orange first, as you can see, because actually there's quite a bit of orange in those stems. So I went ahead and got the orange in there first. Then I took some different colors. I actually took a little bit of manganese violet, 160, because there's some darkened areas in there too. Now this pencil, as you can see, is not real sharp. So if you're going to do those fine lines, like I've said before, you really need a very, very sharp pencil. So have your fine line there and go over whatever is the purplish in color there. The more colors you can add and still get away with, to be legitimately honest, it's going to make a more vibrant, more three-dimensional drawing. So I went over that with some of the purple lines, and then there was also some very, very, very deep red, as you can see in the actual photograph of this deep red in areas. I'm going to sharpen that really quick. And so some of those areas, just go back over where it's got that deep red in it. It's amazing how adding just a few colors together, or getting the true value colors, can make such a difference in your drawing. Okay, so I got the stems in because I wanted to do the stems first, because actually I'll have to back up a step. I actually put the stems in before I did this part of the branch, because you have to leave the opening for those stems, which would be very hard to do if you tried to put the limb in first. So go ahead and put those stems in, and then come in with your gray up to the individual stems and fill in with those. Okay, so that's pretty much that part. And then there's several colors that I used on the berries. You can start with several different colors. There's a 142, the madder color. That's kind of a true red. Also, I have used the manganese violet on them. I also used metal purple pink 125. And what I have found the easiest to be is to go ahead and get a base color down. I'm not so sure, but what I didn't go ahead first and use the 126 permanent carmine, and I just kind of filled in the berry. As you can see, these are fairly red, but they do have a lot of purple in them, which you can make them any color. But so I filled in mostly with the red. Then I went over it with the different purple, and then also on these berries where it's super dark in different areas, I did use a little bit of black, because that really does show the darkness of the color of those. So I've got all of those done. I've got the berries, I've got the stems done, and then I filled in the chest area, the breast area, with some very light colors, because this cardinal, she's not real colorful anyway on the front, but I used some pinks and also a little bit of the light ultramarine blue, a 140, because where there is a little bit of blue on the picture, it's kind of a reflection of the color, of the light, I think. But just very, very softly hold your pencil at an angle, and you're really not doing anything more than just glazing at this point. So just glaze a little bit of blue in there. It adds a little bit of color to the photo, and it blends very nicely with the pinks that you've already used to put in there. As you can see, that adds a little bit of color to it. Over here, I used just really pink. There is a little bit of shadow underneath this limb, so you could go in and put just a little blue in there to portray the shadow if you would like. Would make it a little more three-dimensional. And also underneath this little part of the branch right there. Adds a little shadow. And also too, talking about shadows, where the bird is setting on this limb, you might want to go in with a little bit of black and adjust that color of the limb, because where she's setting, it's of course going to be darker. Let's go in with the black. And I didn't leave much limb there to show. I filled in mostly with her feathers, but actually you can tooth some of that in. And by toothing, I mean just go up ever so slightly there with a little bit of fill in, and that will actually help represent the feathers as they have separated there over the limb. Okay. And I'm going to do the same over here too, just a very little bit to make it look more realistic. Tooth in some of that dark area. Doesn't have to be too much, just a little bit. Okay, so now that I've shown you all of the colors to use, or what I have used, and how I have actually mixed those together, blended them together, and I think on my last video I did show where I did use the white pastel over here on the side to make it look like those feathers kind of blowing a little bit over part of that wing bar. Okay, so that does actually help too, I think. I put just a little bit of white up here. Anytime you want to make a color darker, you use something lighter around it. Anytime you want to make a lighter color, just if you kind of darken in around it, it will help make that area look darker. Okay, I am going to let you all catch up to what I have done so far, and then my next video and last video I will be working on her tail feather. Thank you for watching.